Carrie, if you want to
Say that again?
pause, if you pause the recording
I can't.
and then start it once you.
All right, so it's 6:08 and we will call the meeting to order. So the first order of business is the approval of minutes. I forget what we need to table that until Joy comes on and we can run all that by her. So we will move to the next order of business, which is the acting treasurer or the acting director's report. So I will give the floor to Hope and Debbie. Hi there. Everybody on the board, you all received the report, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we will take it away.
All righty. Well, we just want to begin by saying our budget is not in a great state right now. I think we're all aware that for the last 2.5 years now, our budget has not been balanced properly. Last year, we paid two separate accountants to balance our finances for us. Most of the line items in the budget were misappropriated. As you can see on the board report, in a lot of instances, there's not enough money in the line item to cover the expenses. This has caused the practice of moving monies around, misplacing expenses. So when one line runs out, we were paying it in a different line item or moving money around. So that throws off our whole budget.
No, just state that, that you find that in the miscellaneous file.
Yeah, yeah. For example, our miscellaneous, we're still working on because there was a lot of stuff just thrown in there. And unfortunately, since we're working with the same budget for this fiscal year, we're bound to run into the same problems. Currently, we're working on adding and revising line items to better suit the library's needs. And so we have a clearer understanding of where the money is being spent and how it's being spent. That's why we wanted to give you guys our expense sheet that we made along with the one from Tish, so you see exactly what's going to her and why. As each bill comes in, we're investigating every expense. We're making sure we're not overpaying. We're doing the research. We're changing information from old directors. We're just making sure we're getting the best price. And we're also making sure we understand what the services are, because there are some services we canceled because we didn't need them. There are a lot of things that were on auto renewal that we had to take off.
Guys, goes back, we found things that go back 2 years that we were paying for things that we had no need for and were not using. Keep in mind, like we are scrutinizing everything. And it's sometimes small things. Sometimes it was only maybe we were spending $39, $40 every year and maybe just every month, or small items like $168 getting up kind of a thing. So we just wanted to let you know that, everything that comes in, we're addressing and really putting underneath a microscope, so to speak, and checking prices as Hope and I've been doing. Whether it be, we did the phone, we did the electricity, and again, all those things are written on that sheet. So we are looking at the same time to make sure that we are getting the best pricing. So it just to be more clear on stuff.
Yeah, we've also been working on the payroll line items. As we know, we're gonna have to meet the September 1st minimum wage increase. Currently, we're working, as Debbie mentioned, with a lot of vendors. We are waiting to hear back from a lot of them. Yep, because like she said, we want our questions resolved. We want our concerns answered. Our priority has been reconciling the old and new budgets so we know what we have to work with and where we stand moving forward. We sent a proposal over to you guys to address future custodial services. Currently, we are taking our trash and recyclables to the transfer station to cut costs on trash pickup.
We put a hold.
Well,
We-
yeah,
yeah,
we put a
we
hold
put a-
to see how it goes going forward. Right now, the staff have been maintaining cleaning tasks. I mean, they're going above and beyond, and they're doing more than their job description.
And more than what we get paid for.
H&S Carpet and Janitorial Services does have the proper supplies to combat with the ongoing COVID-19 cleaning regulations. That's why we wanted you guys to consider this proposal, make sure we're all staying safe. Currently, we have money being recovered from multiple sources. We discovered a new source of revenue called Amazon Smile, which we use often. Anyone who places an order can pick a charity to donate to. 0.5% of all proceeds will go directly to our library account for ordering any and all of our needs. We are asking everyone that uses Amazon to please think of us when purchasing and switch to Amazon Smile. It doesn't cost any extra, nothing. It just helps out the library. Also through Amazon, we were able to recoup quite a bit of credits, as you saw in the board report, whether it was books that were ordered and we didn't receive, they weren't shipped properly. We sent back stuff we didn't need, like aprons, thermometers, yep, all this good stuff.
Trying to find it for you guys.
Thank you, towards the bottom.
So much good stuff. So let me. In the right spot. Oh, here we
Yes.
go. Okay.
There we go. Yep, as you can see, I mean, we got quite a bit
Every
of
little
money.
bit's gonna
Yeah.
help.
The staff helped us repackage stuff. We sent it back for refunds. So we're doing pretty good there. Next, we will be receiving the money owed to us from the Friends of WPL for the first quarter program spending in the amount of $2,080. After the meeting earlier this week, they will now be covering feeding costs for Ollie, our guinea pig, which will save us around $120 a year.
And the website.
And the website, yes, we realized we were paying for both the library website and a Friends of the Library website for, do you remember 100 and?
Well, it was set $168. It was set up on our website to be a part of the library, even though they're two separate entities. We thought it'd be nice all together. This is something that was done a couple of directors ago. And you would just click on and it'd bring you to a whole nother link. And on that link, they would then, it'd be like our website. It would have all their different things. They even had a paper like for, a page was for a membership form that they could fill out online. What we did, when we found we were getting two bills for the company that does our website is WIX, we kind of said, you know, what is that about? Why are we getting charged twice? So we looked into it and whatever, and found out that that was two separate, again, things. So it did some researching, realized that we could take all the information from theirs and put it on ours, except for the membership page. That it was a different kind of setup. You couldn't do that, but we ended up transferring everything to our account, canceling out the $168 agreement, which we were paying for every year. And now it's not costing us anything, and they're part of it. We're still able to keep them a part of us because they support us, and, you know, people should know and try to get, you know, members and whatnot. So, you know, again, that's $168. It's only once a year, but you know what? We've been doing it for 2-3 years. Now we have that in our pocket, kind of, you know, so that worked out nice.
Yep, and on another positive note, one of the Friends of WPL members will be making and donating cloth face masks for all the staff at no cost. It was very sweet of her to do. These masks are not great for the face. They cost too much money, so we are very grateful for her.
Yeah, because when we started off, for example, we couldn't even get masks, and they were, for what, we couldn't get hand sanitizer either. Everything was so expensive. and it's $25, you know, for a thing of 50. But with that said, now we don't have to worry about it. We won't have a cost to us. We were never going to have a cost as far as patrons coming in. They would have to come with their own, so we wouldn't have had that expense. But just for us, you know, use one once a day, and it can be expensive. So again, that's a savings. Who knows how long we would have to keep up with such practice. So now, you know, we didn't have to buy. She offered for free, and, you know, wonderful.
All right. All right. And after many years now, we will now be participating again in the state's interlibrary loan system.
Yay.
In the past, we were able to make between $775 to $1,200 a year. We'll no longer have to turn our patrons away over to other libraries. We're not going to lose out on any of our patrons or their business, which is very exciting.
We'll keep our friends and their business, and we'll make some money.
Yes. Okay, next we have resolved both of our library credit cards. One has been closed out. We closed out already. There's a credit coming for around $130. The other card had a substantial balance of over $7,000. That was our kind of first huge task. We went over every line item. We looked at what things were. I think we only, a couple of Home Depot and Walmart receipts we missed because
They were past 90 days.
Yep, they were past 90
There was no record
days.
showing what that was about.
Yep. We recovered from the credit card $590 worth of getting rid of fees, returning stuff, canceling, everything we discussed before, all these charges that we had no need for, we're paying for. Going forward, we hope to be working with the library board on our bylaws and policies and procedures manuals, hopefully sometime in the near future, along with any other manuals that we need revising. We just wanted to inform you that as we carry out our co-interim director responsibilities, we're taking advantage of any training that comes our way. We've attended countless webinars, Zoom, helpful as we're trying to learn this position.
Don't do the last thing. That's something to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to just get back to the credit cards. We are going to need you guys to help us decide on what and how you want us to do that. At this moment, we only have one. The one we closed out was in Chrissy's name. The director, we still have the original one, which is actually still in Brittany's name, which was the director before Chrissy. And how we ended up with two was that something went awry when Brittany was here. I forget exactly what it was. I do remember, and I'm thinking it's escaping me right at the moment. But there was a problem, so Brittany had created another one for Chrissy so that it could be used. Unfortunately, Brittany's was never closed out. And when Chrissy left, hers was never switched over. So, and when we tried to get Chrissy to close hers out, that she wasn't of any help, unfortunately. So we do still have that one in Brittany's name that we're not using on purpose because we're waiting to hear how you guys want us to handle it. You can either close it out or you can keep it and just change the name, which we tried to do very hard, but can be done. But you can't do it until you know who you want to have on it. Now, the bylaws say it's supposed to be the director, the chair of the board, and also the treasurer. Right now, that's not the case. Clee is on it, but we have two people from the town that is on it. Whatever that, and it might have been because at the time we didn't have a treasurer perhaps on the board, or, you know, things have been up in the air for quite some time. So that might be the reason. But again, going forward with this credit card, how do we want to deal with it? Or another thing too is right now that credit card, because of the $7,000 and us not paying for it monthly, we incurred a lot of interest fees and late fees, which we did. All the late fees all got taken off, every one. But there were finance fees, interest fees. Because of that, our interest rate for it went up to 30%. It's like 29.98%. So again, I don't know if you can switch that out and get it a lower interest rate, maybe for that reason in itself, we may want to just apply for a brand new one and just get rid of that one. Again, food for thought for you guys. And let's see, what else did I want to say before we close? Okay, let me see. Oh, something interesting. Okay, a couple things. We sent out the letter to Missy Elmquist for the material that she took when leaving by registered mail. I did last Sunday on my cell phone, heard back from her saying that she wasn't able to respond to us because of the storm, that she would do that when she could. As of today, that still hasn't happened. Clee, actually, Mr. Roseborough, came in this afternoon, returned the phone, and took everything off of it, cleared it, so it's ready to go. We want to use it. He also came in with 2 checks. Unfortunately, they're not paid in full checks. And he did say he talked to a couple of people in power that be, I don't know if I should mention names, but I don't think that was the case. We did get a letter from him. What I had done was what he had shared with me, I asked him to put in writing and get it to me before the meeting tonight. And he did, and I didn't read it. So just was kind of busy with everything else going on. But what he had said was that he would pay off. There was the credit card bill for his trip. There was some repaying back of things that he had taken out, an advance on the payroll relocation. I'm not sure about anything else. I know Carrie knows that. He had said that he talked to, can I say the names, Carrie?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. He had said that he had spoken to Carrie and also to Amanda before coming in today with these checks, that they were where that's been said, and it was okay. He did say that he would pay off, he would keep paying. He was waiting during this 90 days with the hopes that the issue of his not to be the case. So again, I don't know about these things, but for those of you who do, that I'm sure you're going to need to address. But we do have 2 checks. You're going to have to tell us what to do with them. I don't know if they go to the town. I don't know if they need to be deposited into the banks. It seems we have a lot of different bank accounts from what is coming in the mail.
Debbie, are you able to
have to
tell
come
us?
and look at too at some time? Like there's a lot of things like investment things that have come in that Hope and I have collected and gathered together and put in order by dates, but we have no idea what they might be about.
You got
Kind of a thing.
Thank
And-
you guys so much.
Hold on
Kathy,
one second.
before we go to your question, let's just go back to the first page of the director's report where you guys compiled all the information that I had asked. We have to go over this. I'm going to share the screen. So specifically, you guys have done an amazing amount of work in really going over the library's finances with a fine-tooth comb. And the whole town owes you a debt of gratitude. And I don't think that's hyperbolic. I think that you guys have put in the work. It's a labor of love. It's obvious that you guys are really invested. And I think that we need to address the findings that you guys discovered. So on the screen right now, can everybody see the first page of the director's report? Sometime, I would say it was probably mid-July when Deb and Hope contacted me discussing some irregularities that they had found in their digging, trying to put the finances in order. And some of the things they've outlined here. The first thing that we see here is that sometime in January, there was a $1,500 business trip to Nevada that was charged to the library. And Hope and Deb, please jump in at any point when you have other things that you want to say. It's my understanding that this was a trip that the previous director indicated had been approved by the board. I'm going to unmute for 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Okay.
Carrie, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That maybe you, and I can even make a motion, I just can't vote on it, that you present this sheet that you're talking about and actually add a line item to specifically talk about this, this specific subject, you know, some inappropriate spending or questionable spending by the former director. So if you can give the information as part of that they presented as part of their director's report, and then actually have a discussion as a board, and that might be the better time for you to consult with anyone else regarding those items.
So sure, make the motion.
So I'll make a motion to add above item A of new business, discussion of spending by I'll call it spending at all by previous library director.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to add a line item to be the first item of new business where we discuss spending by previous directors. Any discussion about this motion? Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Kathy seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, I see Carrie Donaldson, Kathy, Joy. Karen Ann, is that you?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I'm having issues with video and audio.
No, it's fine. Sarah, can you hear us?
Yep, aye.
Okay, and then Sarah. All right, so motion passes. That will be under new business. We will discuss the financial irregularities that were discovered. All right, thank you. Are there any, sorry, eventually I'll get this. Any questions not related to the motion we just passed about the director's report? Kathy, did you want to say something?
All I wanted to ask was, is it possible for us to see copies of the checks that Clee brought in and how, you know, the amount of each and what he's intending them to offset? Just details on the payment. There they are.
How would you like them? Kathy, I don't hear one at a time.
So therefore, that says 180? Or is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other is?
These are bank checks, so.
Okay,
it should be
gotcha.
good.
And that says
500.
500, okay.
Yes.
And do you have a sense of where that's supposed to be offsetting some of these other irregular expenditures, or what you can still expect in this next 90-day period?
Who's that question for?
You two, Hope and Debbie. Because you said he made an intention today to pay off the rest in 90 days. I just wonder what that looks like, what we're still talking about.
Okay, so the trip that was to Nevada, which was, like Carrie said, supposedly, Clee said that the last board approved, that is $1,581. So right now, we can minus the 500 from that, which will bring it down to 1,081.
Okay.
He did mention that we would get more $500 checks and that it would get paid off within 90 days. So I don't know how he'll do that. We'll get one every month or whatever, but that's what was said or told to me. Now, I don't know everything that he owes as far as say Amanda with the payroll things are. I just know that we came across a repay where he had I guess borrowed money, and we only saw that there was only so many payments paid, and then after he left in June, it had stopped, but there was still a balance left over.
We
So
can
that
talk about that in the
180
line item.
is going to go towards whatever those amounts. So
Okay.
2 separate checks, one for the trip itself, and the second check is for anything else that he would owe as far as what Amanda on payroll knows about.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, one was for 500 and the other was for how much?
180.
Thank you.
All right. Keeping in mind that we have a new motion now, a line item to discuss further these irregularities later on. Are there any other questions for the directors not relating to the financial irregularities? All right, thank you very much, Hope and Debbie.
Welcome.
The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Oops, I did think of something. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
And I wrote this in afterwards because no, maybe it'll be okay. No, hold on.
Okay, all right.
No,
Karen,
maybe I'll do it. No, I'm good. I can save it to what we're doing now. Never mind. More appropriate.
Karen Ann, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Are you ready to give your report?
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot I have to say after the great job Hope and Deb have done discussing everything. If you look at my report, first of all, thank you very much, guys. This is a more complete set of information than I've had in the 3 months that I've been trying to do this.
Perfect.
Glad to help.
So a couple of things that, I noted in my report, the telephone, which is also described in their report, it's a little high, but they're looking for a new phone service. Building maintenance is a little high, but it looks like it's one-shot deal for the elevator contract and the fire extinguishers. So the fact that we're a little over a monthly budget will work itself out. Propane is down. It's the middle of summer. We've got a COVID shutdown. I'm sure that's going to change come winter. You already talked about the electricity. Salaries are low. I assume that's because you guys aren't working a full schedule, but I don't really know. So the only thing, which is a patron software for $298.50, because that was on a line item that had zero budgeted for it. So I didn't know if that could be placed someplace else or if it had to be left on that. Yeah, Deb?
Karen, could I clear that? What we're finding as things have been coming in is that a lot of things weren't what Tish would call coded correctly. So we actually, I don't know why, even I think the patron software and the patron's hardware was actually taken off the budget this year, but I think it was on last year. There's supposed to be a staff hardware and a staff software. Anything to do with computers has to do with the software. We do have computer stuff separately for the patrons, for example, our Cassie fee that we pay once a year. That is only directly to deal with the patron computers, has nothing to do with our computers. So we need that line item. Same thing, we have a lot of things that we're coming across that should be under that, but for whatever reason, never was. And we're gonna do, what we're gonna do with Tish is, we're going to reconfigure that, what the budget looks like as far as the categories and the line items, things that we do all the time. We're gonna have maybe an asterisk beside it. Somehow we're gonna be able to differentiate. I think what happened was that black hole of a miscellaneous kind of sucked in a lot of stuff that should have been other places. So again, that's something that as we go along, we're correcting. So you're right, there wasn't a line item budgeted in, but there should have been, and they're going forward when we figure out everything. That's where I think we may have to get back on track move something from one place to another. And there is leeway to do that we're finding. It's just, you know, we're kind of doing everything step by step
Yeah.
before we get to that point.
You
So,
guys,
yeah,
like I said, have been doing amazing, and, you know, anything that needs to be jiggled around, I understand. I mean, right now, just looking at the report, you said, you know, we overdo electricity, but we underdo propane, so let's just shift a little
Yeah.
money around, you know?
And I think it'll just take a little more time too, like as we're finding things, as we're paying these new bills, as we're coming in, as we're calling people and seeing, oh, this is all we have. Like, it's making it a lot clearer. And right now, I think we're still too far in where we can't go to Tish and say, these are the line items, because they'll change tomorrow if something else comes in.
No, I understand. And I did
Yeah.
comment in the treasurer's report about the invoice that you got from H&S.
Yeah.
Great job on trying to get that down, because the budget for that is currently 9,600, and you got an invoice from them for 72. That's a huge savings.
And there's some things too, the well test. I know from my well that I assumed the reason that it came back with bacteria is because there just wasn't the regular usage. I know that wells tend to, if they're not used regularly, that coliform, I think is called, builds up. So that's just something that was just because of the pandemic was
Yeah.
you know,
And we can't do anything about that. That's another thing too. We're finding with a lot of things, there are things that are state mandated. In other words, we're going to pay regardless. We can't save money. We don't have a choice. It's not, you know, we can't say we don't want to do it. There are things that we're learning from the elevator people, the phone company, the Phoenix, which is the water testing. I mean, you're kind of at their mercy. It's like, and there are times that will come up like with the bacteria in the water in June. That's, you can't help that. And our budget, our line items don't have it where if that comes up, you know, you have the money. But I'll tell you the good news about it when talking to the people over at Phoenix, do you know, we've been here 14 years and it's never happened before. So, you know, let's hope it doesn't happen again. But if it does, you're going to incur a lot of extra costs. And again, the state expects you to come out 3 times and you have to do 3 testings. And I mean, they have a whole criteria you have to follow. So.
Well, let's pray that another pandemic does not happen.
Yeah, really.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. Any questions about the treasurer's report? No? All right. Thank you very much, Karen Ann.
Hey, Karen Ann, I'm sorry. Can you send that to Hope and I? We didn't see that before coming.
Sure.
We're just trying to keep
Now,
track
or
of
you
everything.
want me to wait till the end of the meeting?
Yeah, great.
Okay, no problem. I didn't even think to send a copy to you guys. I just sent it to the board. Sorry.
Thanks.
All right. The next item on the agenda is present to speak. Before we open it up, just in interest of making sure that we have enough time to cover all of our agenda items, we will limit comments to 2 minutes. Do we have anybody who would like to speak? All right. So then the next item is communications. The communications, the only item that I have is the letter that I forwarded to the board from a number of people in town regarding the financial questions that we will be covering in the agenda item in just a little bit. Everybody on the board, you got a copy of that letter, yes? Directors, you guys got a copy of that too? Okay. A number of those questions are ones that we hope to tackle too in just a few minutes. So that said, that's the only communications that I've received. So now we will move on to a discussion of the financial findings that Hope and Debbie have uncovered over the last month. I'm going to hopefully share my screen so we can go over it item by item and have a discussion. Can everybody see that? Okay, so sometime in about the middle of July, Hope and Debbie contacted me. They said they had discovered a number of things in their very careful audit of the finances. We'll go through from the top to the bottom. I think it'd probably be best if we hold questions until the end. There are some people that are here who might be able to lend some insight into some of the questions, so I'll call on them as we get there. The first one is the business trip to Nevada that was undertaken by the former director. It occurred December 2nd, 2019. It's my understanding, and Hope and Debbie, please correct me if I misspeak at any point. I apologize for the road noise. It was so nice when Talon Turnpike was closed. That the former director indicated that this was a board-approved business trip. It certainly was not approved by the current board. I'm going to stop share. Mary Pat, I asked Mary Pat, she was the former chair, or she was the chair of the previous board. She's here. I asked her if she would speak to this. Mary Pat, can you hear us? You have to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you. Oh, there you go. Mary Pat, can you hear us?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, Mary Pat Maloney, former chair of the library board. No, that's true. We never approved a trip by the former director to, where was it, Colorado?
Nevada, I think I misspoke before when I said
that was
Nevada. Okay, yes, Nevada.
Great, but you're correct. That was not something that was ever approved by us.
Okay, so thank you, Mary Pat. So that was one thing that the previous director had indicated had been green lighted by a board that was not done so. The next thing the previous director indicated had been green lighted by a board was the purchase of a cell phone for library business. We see here, this was purchased November 26th of 2019 for a cost of $420. Obviously, this was before the current board had been seated. Again, Mary Pat, if you're...
Hi, yeah. Yes, Mary Pat Maloney, former board. I'm not sure, what was the date? I thought it was in
11/26, so November 26th.
When were you guys seated?
We were seated.
I think it was June.
That might have been right at the transition time. I mean,
It was probably the week before, but your first meeting wouldn't have been till the second Tuesday in December.
I certainly know that it wasn't anything that the current board had approved.
Right, that's not something that we had ever approved as well.
Okay, so that was a cell phone that up until just a few hours ago had not been returned to Willington Public Library, despite numerous requests for it to be returned. The next item we see, many items charged the library credit card that we could not find receipts for. There is a pretty strict protocol for charging things. I don't know, Deb and Hope, I'm not sure if you guys have ever been in a position to know what the protocol is for using the library credit card. If you do. No? Okay.
No, haven't come across that yet.
Okay, all right. It is definitely customary that you submit receipts when making purchases.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just want to say we were able to get some refunds on some of this stuff. Like I returned some stuff to Walmart and Target, and so a couple $100 was coming back in. So we got.
Excellent. And again, thank you guys so much for your doggedness in this. That's amazing. Apathy is, very strong, and I'm sure a lot of people would have just, it's water under the bridge. But we really appreciate you guys taking the time to see if you can get refunds. However, it does not deter the fact that these purchases were made and were not accompanied by receipts, and so therefore we have no way of being able to tell what they were for. Were they purchased, legitimately? We did have 2 receipts for Big Y. They were the majority were food items. I believe, Deb and Hope, you mentioned that you had seen some of these food items come in.
Yep.
I don't want to speak for you. Again, it was my understanding that when you questioned the former director about them, he had indicated that he had purchased these food items through his own personal accounts. Is that right?
Yes.
So,
that was true. He would ask her and offer to get us some things, and he'd go and he would bring things back. And we did ask, and he did say that was going to be that, because we thanked him. He told us that he was paying for it. So of course we were very, thankful and whatever. But we didn't find out until doing this that wasn't the case, because he mentioned that when he would do these things, you get like something at the end of the year, your tax, what's it called? Not tax break. Oh gosh.
like a write-off?
My brain is fried after today. I'm so sorry.
Deductions or write-offs.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Erica. That kind of a thing. So, it made sense to us. Otherwise, we never would have gone with that kind of thing.
Right. And a number of the things we're not to be nitpicky, again, these are the things that we do have receipts for. It was, pouches of tuna and easy macaroni and cheese cartons and things like that. Additionally, we do know that the former director, per the previous board, did have an advance made. He had indicated that he would pay back part of the advance out of every paycheck. Joy had found a document that had been drawn up that indicated that he would pay a little bit out of each paycheck. Should he terminate his employment before the balance was paid off, the remainder of that advance would be deducted from his final paycheck. I've contacted Amanda. I have not heard from her yet. I don't know if this was ever signed. I don't know if we have the document, but it's unsigned. We also know that at the end of his employment with Willington Public Library, there was a balance. And that up until, again, just a few hours ago, there had been no further payment made towards repaying that balance. He was awarded close to $800 medical stipend, which he indicated would be repaid by the VA in July. That has not been repaid. When he left employment at Willington Public Library, he indicated that he would write a letter taking responsibility for that debt until such time as it was paid. Such a letter has not been produced. The podcast equipment that he purchased, it is at the library. It's available for future use, so that's accounted for. We know where that is. As Hope and Debbie found these troubling purchases, they reached out to Mr. Roseborough a heroic amount of times. And you can see here the amount of times: July 5th, 8th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 21st, 24th, 25th, and 28th. Each time he indicated, yes, he would show up at the library. He would come with the checks for the full amount, for the phones. The acting directors up time on Saturdays, on Sundays, to come up to the library to wait for him, and he never showed up. There was, I believe, I again, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, that he had offered to pay the library back for the phone, that he would prefer to keep it. That was something that you indicated was not going to be acceptable. This was library materials and it needed to be returned. Again, it was not until a few hours ago that the phone was finally returned. There's been a number of attempts to contact the former director. to try and recoup funds, to try and get an explanation. And it's either been, yes, that he would show up, and he didn't. He sent me, when he showed up to give the directors the 2 checks and the phone that happened a few hours ago, he indicated to them that he had already spoken to me and that I said this was okay, absolutely fine. He had not spoken to me. I would not have said such a thing. He emailed me after he showed up at the library and spoke to the directors. He indicated that he would not speak to this in anything other than an executive session. I'm going to stop sharing. I guess, unless I'm very much mistaken, he's not here regardless. I've asked him repeatedly for any documentation that he has that the business trip had been green-lighted by a board, that the purchase of the phone had been green-lighted by a board. I've asked him for receipts, and I've gotten no answer. I do know that he has repeatedly asked that the board reconsider its decision to not pay out his vacation time, but yet no discussion of the spending that he underwent as the previous director. So I guess at this point, I'll open this up to discussion. The chair recognizes Erica Wazinski.
Thank you, Carrie. So I do have the same information you have. I asked Carrie in my role as a member ex officio if she could share with me the documents being presented tonight so that I could have a look. So this afternoon, I did get a look at the same documents you have. I have many questions, and I understand that you may not be able to answer some of them, but I want you to think long and hard about what we'll need to do to get these answers and what that will mean. So I hear you say the business trip was not authorized by the current board or the previous board. So we don't believe anyone authorized the trip. I can tell you in my many communications with the library the library director, as he came into the town hall, he never spoke about a trip that he was taking on behalf of the library. Lots of talk about a grant he was going to get us. Never fully understood what that was going to be, but never mentioned a trip. I would think if he was taking a trip on library time that he might have mentioned it to someone. I find this highly unusual. If such a trip was being done, there would be a reimbursement process, and that would go through proper channels, and there would be a paper trail. I have concerns about the fact that he charged $1,581 and mentioned nothing to anyone. I appreciate all the work that you all have done in discovering these items. Can you tell me, for the library cell phone, did he receive a stipend for use of a cell phone at all? Is that in his contract or in your budget?
I know that it's not in the contract. We looked over the contract extensively when we were looking to see if he was due unused vacation time. There was absolutely nothing regarding any stipend for a cell phone.
Okay, and you don't have a budget in your line item. For example, in the town's budget, the first selectman gets a stipend for a cell phone. So I submit my cell phone bill and I receive a stipend. There's a paperwork to fill out. It goes through the proper channels, and then a check is cut to me. I don't certainly cut a check to myself or use a credit card to pay that.
Right.
So I wondered if he had a stipend for a cell phone at all, and it doesn't appear that way.
Not that I know of. The chair recognizes Deb Linares.
Co-interim direct phone, and not that I want to stir up the muddy water, but just it was said to us by Cleve that, again, at first it was Carrie that was approving it and suggested it, and then it was Erica suggesting that, because she had one that so just to let you know that that's what we were told.
I can unequivocally say I did not tell him to use library funds to purchase himself a cell phone. I have a personal cell phone, which I pay in full for. I have a second line that I pay in full for personally that I use for town business. I submit a receipt for this and each month receive $30 for it. So there is a process, but I also have a budget line item specifically for a cell phone stipend. So while I may have suggested if that were something the library were to do, maybe he'd want to look into a separate phone. At no point did I tell him to use library funds unauthorized.
I certainly never green-lighted that either.
Yeah. Can you tell me, and this goes to either Carrie, Karen Ann, or the Hope and Debbie, the library credit card, all of these things have come to light since the former director left. Can you tell me how long that credit card went unpaid?
I think that's best answered by the directors.
Yeah, I think the last time it was paid was in November.
Like I think it was like 7
Yeah,
months. If I'm
and
not
before
mistaken.
that, it was clear there was, our interest was good. There was no, it was being paid regularly.
Every
and-
month, so
and-
we wouldn't get charged like
Yeah,
fees and interest.
And when me and Deb first started, we were literally opening envelope after envelope of late notice and fee, which we were
Mail.
being told just to store. And yeah, we found all of them. And that's how we found like items like the phone or the trip, because we had to go through each line item and figure out how it was. That's how it came up.
Okay. So to this current board, you didn't know to look for credit card purchases of these purchases because it wasn't something you were ever seeing. It certainly is a red flag to me and for the town's part that all of these unusual purchases began, and that's when the credit card stopped being looked at or sent in for payment. So it requires an additional look in my mind. The kinds of foods I saw in the Big Y receipts, did he bring in packets of tuna and Easy Mac containers,
Yep.
Yes.
packages of candy?
Yep.
I mean, there was a random assortment of things. So incredibly unusual, again, not authorized. Was there a written, and I think Joy answered this, was there a written arrangement on the payroll side of this? And you're not sure if it was a signed agreement?
Joy presented me with the, sorry, my connection's freaking out. So Joy, if you're talking, I apologize for talking over you. Joy presented me with the original drawn up document. I contacted Amanda and have not heard from her yet. I contacted Mary Pat, and she had pointed me towards Amanda, that if this had been signed, it would have been between Amanda and Clebell.
And typically Amanda is really good about going back to who should authorize those things, whether that be a board chair, someone in charge, in saying, yes, this is appropriate to pay. And if she had such documentation, we'll get that from her. So I'll try to touch base with her as well next week, Karen, see if we can find out what documents Amanda has on that. I don't understand the medical stipend. As part of his contract, was he given insurance?
So I can answer that one. That occurred between Clebell and I, only over the phone. There's no written documentation, to which I apologize. He called me one day, very frantic, explaining that he had a medical condition. If he didn't receive shots, he would have his vocal cords paralyzed and not be able to speak. And he received the shots through the VA with his VA insurance. The VA told him that because of the pandemic, there were irregularities with the, I guess the reimbursement for that month. And so he would have to pay out of pocket, but the VA would be immediately issuing a reimbursement. He told me that this was, something that he just needed one time. It would be immediately repaid. I just had to say it was fine. And I gave him the green light on that one. And to this date, we have never seen repayment for that.
So he played to your soft side. I apologize. It feels like you were taken advantage of and someone was in need. So we'll want to make sure we, although we don't want to see anyone harmed, that not happen in the future. I have lots of concerns about that and the fact that he wouldn't then repay it. But as these collect, I am not surprised whatsoever. I see that it looks like you got all of the, did you get all of the late fees from December to June or July when that bill was paid, or July when that bill was paid? Did you get all of the late fees reversed?
Yeah, we even got the late fee that we got charged after we made like a big deposit because we were still trying to work out the rest of the items.
Okay, so kudos to you all for being able to get that done. That can be significant. The interest certainly has hurt the credit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what kind of account it is, but because it's in Brittany Jensen's name, John, to credit on her behalf, but that would take some
Can I
looking
ask a
into.
quick question?
Can you tell me who from the town is on the credit card?
I'm sorry.
You said that there were others, Clavel was on the credit card, someone from the town?
They're on, and I don't know if it's just a credit card or the bank accounts. It might not be the credit card, but I know Lori and Donna.
Okay,
Are
that's
listed
probably
with
the bank accounts as far as the treasurer goes. I'd be curious if they're on the credit card.
No, that was a hard thing. It was just the credit cards can only be in one person's name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Usually it's been the director.
And they were both
For
in
that.
Britain.
And I will leave this. I want to hear your discussion and from the town's perspective. The library, Wellington Public Library receives a grant from the town. So the Board of Finance authorizes money, you're given the money in whole, and then the library board of directors determines how it is spent. So while the town has some play in here and certainly much concern over this, I believe right now, unless appropriate actions seem to be taken, that there is, I apologize, there's someone else at my window distracting me. Unless some action is taken, I would like to, in my role as first selectman and the town, help you in getting to the bottom of these things. And if the appropriate actions aren't taken by the board, then the town might look to step in, but we want to partner with you to make sure this gets done. There is no part of me that thinks it's acceptable to use town funds, unappropriated funds, to make purchases such as a business trip, a personal cell phone, this medical stipend that didn't exist, and then decide how you're going to pay it back. To me, they were misdirected funds for personal reasons, and I encourage you to look into what action you can take on that end and some sort of independent audit. That is going to cost the library money. That's the bottom line. And the library does have some funds that I encourage you to spend to do that, so that we can make sure that you start with a clean slate, and that if there is any kind of impropriety, it is done under proper channels. Mr. Roseborough has dropped off a check for $500 and $180. He's acceptable in my eyes, and I don't suppose in the eyes of any member of the public at all. So I look forward to seeing what kind of discussion this board has on that. In any way we can help you and assist, I'm here to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Kathy, you had something you wanted to say. The chair recognizes Kathy Kidman.
Never mind, I answered my own question. I was looking for the exact amount of the medical stipend and I had 600 in my head, but I see it's 800.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes Deb Linares. Deb?
So I'm all set.
Oh, can I add one last thing? My last communication with Mr. Roseborough was on June 24th. He texted me and asked if he could speak with me. I called him back, and I have no problem at any time later to discuss the conversation. He wanted to discuss the matter that was coming before this board and his vacation, and I said that was a matter for the library board and that the town had no role in that. So any communications he might say he had with me or this office, I would be interested in having him prove going forward.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Deb Linares.
Hi, Deb Linares, co-interim director. A question, when you say, Erica, as far as the town has a grant that you usually give us, is that, I'm concerned about, the state gives the town money.
That's
Is that
different.
what you're speaking of, or something totally different?
Something completely different. So when the library board develops, usually in conjunction with the library director, develops their budget, it goes before the Board of Finance, and they determine how much money they believe they need to properly run the library. And I'm going to use a round number and say, you say you need $182,000. You present a budget and line items. The Board of Finance then determines what the amount is. How you spend that bottom line is up to the library board of directors. So when it passes referendum and goes through all of the budget process, then if the final number is 182,000, that is deposited to the library board. In the past, it went right to you into your bank account and the town was done. We gave you money, you determined how it was spent. Currently, the town is handling the bookkeeping end of that. So we see a little bit more how it's spent. But the direction of that still comes from the library board of directors. They submit the purchase orders, they submit the okay to pay these bills, and then the town pays based on the direction of the library board. It seems to me that the director was probably skipping a lot of those steps. You had a very new board that was pretty green, and a lack of a treasurer for a little bit, on top of the fact that it has not yet been a full year that the town has taken on paying these bills and part of that process. And I'm concerned some of that was taken advantage of here. But it's a grant, not like, it's not a, we use that term grant. So it's a fund, it goes into a fund. And if you didn't spend all 182,000, it stays in your fund. It doesn't come back to the town. It stays there for the library to use, similar to the fire department, Parks and Rec department, and Human Services.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Erica.
You're welcome.
So in light of that, I would like to make a motion.
Is that Carrie? I
Yes.
can't, it's Karen Ann. I can't wave. I don't have video.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I have a question that's been bothering me since I became treasurer that's a little bit different than what we've been discussing. And since we have the previous board director here and Erica here, I was hoping maybe somebody could explain this to me. Okay, Clevell didn't need the health insurance because he had VA, because he was former military of some type. So there was $11,000 in the budget for medical insurance for the director that was not being used. When was it authorized that $4,200 of that would be spent on Christmas bonuses, including a $700 Christmas bonus to himself? And it seems to me, from everything I've been seeing, the rest of the $11,000 went into his salary. So I'm just curious as to how all of that
My guess to you is, as I said in on your first meeting, there was no business of the library conducted. It was a matter of determining your officers. I'm pretty sure he made those appropriations and changes himself. Transfers of money within departments, just like at the Board of Education, just like at the Board of Finance from the Board of Selectmen's budget, should have gone through this board. If he needed $4,000 in a line item that he thought was going to be overspent, he should have come to the board, asked you to transfer from one line to the other so that you're aware of every penny that's being spent. It just wasn't happening.
As far as the Christmas bonuses go, I can speak to that. And Joy, maybe you can help me out remembering, I believe it's the first meeting that we sat as a new board. At the end of it, he made a motion to go into executive session. During that, he discussed how he was giving up his benefits and he would really like to give the staff Christmas bonuses because shamefully, the staff had never received Christmas bonuses and this was an opportunity to give them. And he asked the board who was there if we would consider using the money from the forfeited health insurance to pay for Christmas bonuses. And in that executive session, we voted yes, we would be willing to give Christmas bonuses. As far as where the rest of it went, because it was not in excess of the $11,000, I couldn't tell you. But I can clear up where the Christmas bonuses came from. The rest of it, I don't know. The chair recognizes Joy Rona. Oh, hang on, Joy, we can't hear you. Hang on, Joy. Keep talking until we can hear you. No. Oh, I can't hear anybody now. Nope.
Can you hear me, Carrie? I'm the only other one not unmuted.
Yes, I can hear you. All right. Everyone else seems to have gone to mute.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. All right, Joy, while you figure it out, just yell when you think you've got it. Deb, Linares, I saw you had your hand raised. Yes.
Yeah, can I say something about the Christmas bonus? And I don't mean to sound ungrateful,
No, of course.
but I got to tell you, and I did tell Cleve, that was like the most stupidest thing that could have been done. You know,
Don't hold back, Deb.
Cleve talked to me about a lot of stuff. Everybody, I don't know, I must be like a grandma. Everybody wants to talk to me about stuff, which is good. That's how I learn. But that really should not have happened. A big part of me after the fact kind of feels like Cleve wanted $700 Christmas bonus, so that's how he was going to get it by giving to the same thing, or at least that much to everybody else. The fact that all of us got $700 was a sin. I mean, if you want to go over the last 14 years, you know, okay, I deserved it. So did all of us. But the way it was based, I mean, I had a problem with people who hadn't been a year here yet getting the same amount of money, and other people have been here for 13, 14 years. I think it should, and I did run it by Cleve. And I thought that it should have been based on, you know, say one payroll payment. In other words, we get paid now, used to be once a month, we get paid now every 2 weeks, you know, something like that, or something based on how long you were here. If you were here for, you know, 14 years, like my dearest Kathy here, then you should have gotten more than the person that was here not even a year. I don't even know if a person who was a year should even have gotten a Christmas bonus. Again, it was nice that it was all even and across the board, but it was not done right or fairly in that. Yeah, that, and I didn't know that that was going to come out of him, so out of that. So, I mean, you know, that kind of softens the blow a little bit, but at the time I can remember stating that, you know, we don't have the money for that. I mean, it was gracious and it was good, and I'm glad he came out of his money, but totally done wrong. And Lord knows we deserve it. And what I was going to say to Erica, when I'm speaking, is trying to figure out this stuff with Clee. And it's coming out of that grant you said. I guess I'm concerned in that, you know, well, just for example, we just got a bill this morning from the lawyers, and it's for over $1,500. And so there goes our $1,000 that's on our budget line, and it's not even July, for crying out loud. These are bills from June, which should have been on last month, but it was closed out, you know, so I get that, you know, we wanted, you know, even in the letter, we want an audit, and, you know, where is this money coming from? I would like to start seeing some money be invested in the people who actually have been devoted and who care about this library. That letter said, you know, they don't see people caring. That sent me to the moon. We do care, and I think by the fact of how little we get paid is really ridiculous. After 14 years, I'm going to be making minimum wage again. That's insane. I checked with the town. There's nobody in the town right now, before the minimum wage goes up in September, that makes minimum wage unless you're a lifeguard or somebody coming in as a temporary position. Even people that work there are going to make over $13, and we're going to still be making 12. When I see money being spent, and I know you guys want to prove a point, and I don't want Clea to get away with anything, but it just seems we're so quick to spend money, whether it's calling a lawyer and talking for 5 minutes and you end up getting charged an hour. You know, a lot of people in a lot of places, for a lot of reasons, I feel with going forward with what I've seen, they're not doing it, not right, but not to the best interest of the library. And I'm just kind of like saying, I don't mean to make it sound like it's venting, but, you know, I think about where money is going to go after water's under the bridge is going to cost us more. It's kind of like with the material that Missy has out. It would cost us more money to look into with the lawyer than it's worth, the material. You could buy it over a number of times before you would get your money back. So I guess I would just wish and hope that you guys would give that a little bit more thought. I know it's a principle of the matter. I've lived that with many things too. But I don't want us to, cut off our nose to spite our face just to prove a point, and it's not going to make any difference anyways down the line. I don't know. I'm just kind of a common sense person. That makes sense to me. If it doesn't to you, I'm sorry. But, I just had to put it out there.
Thank you, Deb. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Thank you. The chair recognizes Erica.
Okay, thank you. So Deb, I saw the same letter. It came to the Board of Selectmen as well, and it's important to me. Again, I said that the library board addressed the issue. I don't for a second think that you don't care about the library and aren't looking into these things. These things came about as the director left, and it took some time to do some investigation. So while there's some information out there yet, I'm not sure how that happened, and I have concerns about that. It's appropriate that all of the proper information is received so that in the event there needs to be any legal action, that we've done this the right way. As far as legal expenses, does it take away from spending at the library? It does. Sometimes we have more that we budget here. You might go 3 years and never need to pick up the phone and call an attorney. But when you do, there's usually a valid reason. And those are funds that I think you'll need to spend. The library gets X amount of dollars that they ask for from the town. You ask for money, the Board of Finance agrees on an amount, and that's what you get. Anything above and beyond that, the library would have to fund, and you do have some private funds. So it's not as though you couldn't then still offset those costs. This may require more legal funding than the $1,000 you budget for, but you never know how much you're going to need in legal. And it's important, especially when looking from the bigger picture, there may have been some inappropriate behavior, and it's important to investigate that. And that's going to take some money that's that wasn't budgeted for and need to be spent. To your point, this library board has to discuss how they pay going forward. While yes, unless you're a temporary employee here in the town, they aren't paid minimum wage, but they also are in a union, and that plays into a role. So that's a separate issue for another time, and I can appreciate the work that you do. I will say in that letter, it was said nobody cares about the library, and I couldn't disagree more. Hope and Deb have showed just how much they care about the library. Deb has been there for years, and her dedication speaks volumes. Hope has been there a very short time and didn't hesitate to step in and point out the discrepancies that she found and not ignore them and say, a director is gone, let's just move forward. Has the right to their opinion. You know what you do, and what you do from here is what's going to make the biggest difference in how this library reacts. I see Joy, who can't talk, but said at that December meeting you discussed bonuses for 4 employees, none of which she's named are Clavel.
Joy,
So,
can you talk now?
Can you hear me?
yes.
We can.
Okay. I fixed it. I got rid of the phone and went to the computer audio. Joy Rona, Secretary, Library Board. I did find it. It is on December 10th. It does say that, according to my notes, it was for 5 staff, Clavel, including 4 other people. Kathy, Joe, Deb, and Jen.
Okay.
Which in my eyes, 700 times 5 is 3,500. So I don't know where the 42 came into play. Because that's what I have in my notes.
Thank you, Joy.
And at that time, what should have been done is the money should have then been a transfer from your board from one line item to another. Again, a brand new board, not fully aware of all of their responsibilities, and then you had a little bit of issue with the treasurer at that time. Some things didn't happen in the proper manner. And again, I say it's what you do moving forward that makes a difference. And I think you now know what you can and cannot speak about in executive session, how things work. You cannot vote in an executive session. You have to come out and vote in public so that all of that is on the public record.
Thank you.
Can I get the second half of my question addressed?
Yes, the chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, treasurer. Okay, I am aware I have only been treasurer for 3 or 4 months. I was not part of the new board back in December. I came in later. And so I got dumped with this stuff. And one of the first things I noticed was the director's salary was
Can't hear you anymore.
Can't hear anymore.
We really lost you, I think.
Oh, Karen Ann, are you still there?
41 and change, but he got paid 48 and change. Did I lose you?
Yes. Could you go back from you recognize that the director's salary was? I think we lost you.
Again, I think to Karen Ann's point, she's saying you budgeted, let's say $48,000 and maybe he was paid over that. Money should have been transferred from somewhere else to cover that overage. That would happen in typical business. Your
Okay,
policies, I think, were in question, and he wasn't necessarily helping you to all understand that process.
Karen Ann, are you back?
I can
We keep losing you.
hear you. Okay. I'm getting messages saying my internet is unstable. Sorry. According to my report that I got, his salary was 41,000 and change. He got paid 48,000 and change. And when I questioned that, I was told that there was $11,000 from his medical insurance that he didn't take. 4,000 of that went to Christmas bonuses. That I now understand. And then I was told the rest of it got given back to him, which is how he ended up with $7,000 more in salary. Was that ever approved?
No.
Yeah.
So he just took that.
Or somebody put it there.
Yeah, that was not anything that we ever discussed in any meeting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm curious as to how suddenly through payroll he was getting paid more. Was he just putting in the additional payroll and sharing that information with Amanda, not authorized?
Thank you,
Moving
guys.
it from one line item to another is one thing. Actually having it paid out is a completely different issue.
The chair recognizes Hope Gove.
Hope Gove, interim director. I just wanted to add to that, like going through the old emails, I can see like the conversations where he did contact just directly the town to whatever he wanted. And there was also another issue. We wanted to bring it up this meeting, but it's going to have to wait till next meeting. We really want to focus on the payroll line items because we also had problems with other members of staff that like weren't there for a year or whatever, getting paid vacations. Like there's a lot of discrepancies with the payroll items that, it shouldn't have been.
I agree. Thank you. And I think that I speak for the board when I say we feel confident that you guys are up to the task of helping us uncover all of the places that we need to direct our attention to. And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
That said, I would like to make a motion, keeping in mind that we have already spent our $1,000 attorney line item for the year. I would like to make a motion that we contact the town attorney to be advised on the next steps that we take concerning this increasingly large misappropriation of funds from the former director.
I have to second that. I completely agree.
All right, Karen Ann seconds. We'll take it to a vote. All those.
Can you have discussion first?
Yes, sorry.
I have a couple of things in interest and it may not typically go to the motion. I would encourage you not to cash the checks that Mr. Clavel, Mr. Roseborough has given to you until such time as you speak with the attorney. And I would not utilize the cell phone in any manner until such time as you've been able to contact the town attorney so that you don't muddy any of those waters and it's in your best interest.
Excellent, thank you. Any other points for discussion before we bring it to a vote? All right, all those in favor of contacting the town attorney to be advised on what our next steps would be, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So I have Karen Ann, is that you?
Yes.
Karen Ann, Sarah Jean.
Yes, aye.
Sarah Jean, aye. Joy Rona, aye. Kathy Ryan Gidman, aye. Carrie Donaldson, aye. So it's unanimous. if the board so allows me, I will contact the town attorney at the beginning of next week. I'll present him all of the findings that the acting directors have uncovered. I will make him very aware of our limited resources. I've spoken to him before on another matter that I had to contact him regarding, and he understands that we are a small town working on a limited budget, and we will be very sensitive to that. And I will bring any findings to the next board meeting. The chair recognizes Erica Wazinski.
I want you to keep in mind that once you start working with the attorney, there may be matters that you won't be able to speak about in public, and encourage you to use his guidance on that so that you can say as much publicly as possible, but nothing that might jeopardize any litigation that may happen, and he will advise you on that. I also encourage you to begin looking at drafting policies for credit card usage for the Willington Public Library, so that you don't find yourself in this predicament again. So there are clear-cut policies on how the credit card can be used.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hope and Debbie, with your role now, you might be able to lend some much needed practical wisdom. Would you two be willing to make your suggestions on how it would be the best way to use the credit cards through the library and submit them to the subcommittee?
I would say we were just talking about using the card like only for emergencies, because there's some things that we won't be able to pay for an invoice. Not many, but we don't want to just get rid of it and then in a bind. But we're willing to send you guys anything to approve.
On what our policies are in credit card usage as
Yeah.
well, to help you
You
with
may
that.
have something.
There are reasons you need to use it. It has to be accompanied by a receipt. It needs to be an approved purchase prior to. So there may be some things that need to happen, but a clear-cut policy keeps things, questionable trips to Nevada from being spent without some sort of ramification going forward. Not to say that this may not be without any kind of consequence.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Deb Linares.
Hi, Debbie Linares again, interim director. We do have one thing that I know the board was addressing 1 or 2 months ago, was the different kinds of manuals we have for instructions such as that, like the bylaws, the policies and procedures. There's a director's one. I mean, there's ones for employees. There's got to be at least a half a dozen or more different kinds of books, which they're all spewed out on one of the desks that I try to get to. We were trying to help you guys with that, because I did ask if you guys could hold off on that, because there's a lot of things that just weren't jiving between what you had recovered and then what I was seeing, what is actually physically here. So on one note, we're looking into them, so we can all work together and help each other. I will look to see if there isn't something already in place, perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised, because things are pretty thorough from what I'm finding, very detailed. Yeah, we can do that. Just other things we felt that at this point, trying to prioritize what was most important, and we were seeing so many wild things come in through the mail and whatever, that we were addressing that first, and we wanted to take care of the budget first, again, because we wanted to make sure that there was money for September with the minimum wage increases. And it just, yeah, every line we looked at, there was an issue. So we were doing the budget first, but we'll try to spend more time on that book, and I'll see if we can't, find more about the credit card usage. We do, like, all the, what we were finding too, that the credit cards that credit card was being used. A lot of it was you would do business with someone, a lot of it was automatic payment, or, so it was getting used that way, unbeknownst to us. But we do have things like what we thought was a good practice, and you guys can tell us if it's not, or if you prefer something different. We have, like, on Amazon, we have an Amazon credit card. So we're going to charge only through what we get at Amazon on that card. We have a Staples credit card. We're going to use the Staples credit card. We're not going to use the library credit card. Like there are places that we already have established card credit through that company itself that we think is a better way of keeping track of stuff. Like we would have on the credit card that we're speaking of, like, you would go to, Staples and Sturbridge and buy something, whereupon you need to have receipts, and then we had to go look through that. If I write, he should just charged on the credit card that is with Staples. And there, I just think it'd be less of a hassle. It'd be a better paper trail, so what we are practicing is that if there is an existing credit card with a particular company that we deal with at a regular basis, like for example, those few I mentioned, there's more, we're just letting it be on that. We're trying not to get the library credit card involved. And for the most part, because we're doing things by invoice, we don't have to. It might be things like, okay, if we went to Big Y or if we went to Walmart, we don't foresee things like that coming up, but that kind of emergency kind of thing we may have to, but we're going to try to deal with invoices and getting reimbursed that way. So, what you're seeing now, we weren't thrilled about either, and we think it should be a different practice. Unless you tell us different.
The town does it. If I had to purchase something and wasn't able to get it through our typical vendor, and say went to Staples and purchased something that we needed sooner, I'll use that as an example. I then submit my receipt. I pay for it myself, submit the receipt. It goes through the process, so it is actually approved by someone. It is looked at to know that it was something that should be purchased, and then approved or denied. And then the reimbursement goes to the individual who paid. And that's probably a better way than having numerous credit cards that then still can realistically be misappropriated after. If we thought that you made a purchase that wasn't really for library business, it's easy to deny paying back the vendor, who then is the individual, as opposed to a credit card that's now been paid. And how do you get those monies back that may be inappropriate from an individual? You find yourselves in a situation like this. So there's probably a different system as a whole that may need.
All right. Oh, everything is frozen. Deb, yes.
I've done that. I know what you mean, Erica, because just recently I had gone to Dollar General, for example, and needed to buy new notebooks for these books that we're going to be making up and stuff for everybody. And I did. I'm very timely. Tish is great with every week. If you give her a bill, she'll pay for it. Right. Where once upon a time when I do things with the friends, and even still, it takes me 3 months to get reimbursed back. So,
and it shouldn't. It should go through somebody, whether it be, the treasurer on the board or however your policies are set. They approve it, and it goes in with the next set of payments to the town in your monthly payment. So you shouldn't have to wait more than a billing cycle to get that reimbursement, but it shouldn't be go out, purchase something at Dollar General, hand Tish a receipt, and she pays you back the next day. It should still, you want to have those checks and balances. And I think you're on the right track as a board and to see a clear policy and process to have that happen.
All right, thank you. Kathy and Joy, I know that you guys are on the policy subcommittee. Can I task you guys with this being something that you tackle at the next meeting? Maybe this is one of the things that we need to cover sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Yes, Joy.
Joy Rona, Secretary. I just had to leave for a couple minutes. Could you reiterate what you want us to do? I'm sorry.
Just really firming up the policies regarding credit card protocol.
Okay.
Sure.
Deb and Hope have some ideas, and touch base with them to see how that goes.
Yep.
All right, so the next order of business is the creation of job description, new director. This one, when I set it as an agenda item, the whole notion of subcommittees had just sort of fallen out of my head. I know that personally for me, and maybe for a lot of you as well, there are a number of questions that we have regarding what the current just sort of standard requirements for an applicant are. I know that we have a bachelor's is required, or equivalent experience, and a master's degree is preferred. I know that I have a lot of thoughts about that. And I think that in order to get the absolute best director for not only our library, but our town, I think that this might be something that we might want to form a subcommittee for, to really look at the job description and look what had just sort of been historically just the requirements that we had in the past, and maybe they weren't fully thought out. They were just what other people had done. So what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion that we form a subcommittee, a hiring subcommittee, with its first task being creating a requirements, is that the word I'm looking for the position of library director, that we really just start from the ground up and think about what the library needs and what the town needs. And so my motion is that we create a hiring subcommittee to start with the job search for a new director. Is there a second? Joy seconds. Any discussion on this?
So you're really looking to, for your subcommittee to review and bring back to the full board a new job description?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, Karen Ann, treasurer,
Yes.
do we have access to the old description that Clevelle Roseboro was hired under?
We do. It's Joy, you probably know this better than anyone.
Have it.
Yes. Joy has the previous one. I'm sure you probably can email it to us with
Yeah.
little difficulty. So yes, there is a previous description. So all those in favor of forming a hiring subcommittee specifically to look at creating a new job description, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, I see Carrie Donaldson, Joy Rona, Karen Ann, was that an
Aye.
aye? Aye. Sarah Jean?
There, aye.
Aye, okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Kathy Ryan Gidman, abstention. Next question. Who would be willing to serve on the subcommittee?
Karen Ann, treasurer. I don't know what anyone else's background is, but I have been on
Uh-oh, everything just froze for me.
several tenures, writing descriptions, all of that. So I've got some experience if anybody would like me to be on it.
Yes, we would. I'm also willing to be on the subcommittee. I think we need 3. Is that correct? Do we need 3 people to make it a subcommittee?
Should.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a third volunteer?
You know what? I abstained, but I'll volunteer. Makes no sense, but
Well, that's perfect. You will be, you know, the balancing voice. Thank you, Kathy.
oh, yeah, count me in, whatever.
All right, so it is Carrie Donaldson, Karen Ann, and Kathy Ryan Gidman. All right, great, thank you. I will get with you guys after this meeting so we can come up with a date to have a meeting to come up with a new job description. That said, I believe we've covered everything. I make a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute, I think we needed to hear the minutes from Joy, right?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Joy, yes, would you like to take it away? There was a question, I believe there were some corrections that were suggested at the last meeting. Have they been made in the minutes?
I can put them in the, where did I lose it? Joy Rona, secretary. I can put them in the minutes, but I don't resubmit them to the town. They get submitted into the minutes.
Okay,
Okay, so I can make those corrections that have come through the email. I can put those in the minutes, and then those will become part of the regular minutes here.
Yeah, they would go into the minutes of this meeting.
Mhm.
So when you read minutes, sometimes you'll read one, you go into the vault and read them, it becomes quite a puzzle sometimes.
All right. So that said, I would like to propose a motion that we approve the minutes from February 25th, 2020 and July 10th, 2020. Do I have a second? Joy Rona seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Wait, discussion or no?
Oh,
Hang
yep,
on.
I'm sorry. So the motion's
wait,
on the
so
floor, discussion.
Sorry, Kathy Ryan Goodman, board member. So hang on. So Joy, I just want to I think Elena found a few things she wanted to change, and so did I. So I don't want to approve them until I know those have been made. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. We just talked about it too, and I was not paying attention.
So if I can help explain it. So this month's minutes would say you're approving the minutes of your July meeting, and I apologize, I don't know the date, with the following corrections, and then list out those corrections that were made. So if someone is reading forward and they read that, they'll then could go back to your July meeting and see what it was that was corrected. The actual document that's in the town clerk's office that's filed never gets changed. It gets changed in the next meeting, and so it should be highlighted, you know, if it was a word or a misspelling or a completely different line item, something cut, all of those that, if you're saying you're approving them with the changes that were sent to Joy, they should be listed out.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So then let's start with the February minutes. Let's talk about the changes needed for the February minutes. Everyone's frozen, so I don't know if it's me or everyone else.
Worry. So I'm just, as far as discussion goes, that one I can't say yes or no to. So.
Okay, so let's start with the February minutes then. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard this. My internet's all crazy. Any changes proposed to the February minutes? Okay, then the July minutes. Any changes needed to be made to the July minutes?
Well, I don't know where Elena's suggestions are, but there were several of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it was not Karen Ann, I think you would, and said, oh yeah, I had trouble. I was just, having trouble hearing because you were off video at that point, that it was I who apologized to Hope and Deb and wanted to be more inclusive in our policy creation going forward. I just want the record to reflect that.
All right, any other changes that we need to make sure are in the minutes? Okay, so then let's start with the February minutes. All those in favor of approving the February minutes, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Karen Ann, can you hear us?
I didn't say anything for the same reason Kathy has a problem. Neither one of us were there in February.
Yeah, we're both gonna have to abstain.
Yeah, I was planning on abstaining.
Okay, all right. So I guess we just have to hold that one because there's only two of us. So then let's do the July minutes. All those in favor of approving the July minutes with the corrections, say aye.
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 Aye, so that's Carrie Donaldson, Kathy, Joy, and Karen. Karen Ann?
Yes, aye.
Yes, okay. All right, so that concludes all of the items on our agenda. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? Kathy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question, Carrie?
Yes.
Joy Rona, secretary. When did the call to order?
Is there anything else you need? I wrote some stuff down.
If you want to email that to me, I can add those to the minutes.
Yeah, there really isn't much. It's basically call to order was 6:08. You weren't here, so the minutes were tabled, and then Hope and Deb started discussing step by step their report.
Okay. All right. I apologize for being late. I was coming back from a doctor appointment.
All right, good.
Once this video goes online, you should be able to use it as a reference, Joy, for whatever you missed.
All right, so then let's vote. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
I believe that's everyone. All those opposed, nay. All right, thank you guys. I will get in touch with people about the subcommittee, and thank you all for showing up. I know that it was a big ask, but I appreciate it, and so does the town.
Thank you. And I think Joy and I and Elena will carry on, and we'll try to contact you guys, Deb and Hope, to
Sounds
make our
good.
next, our next efforts. So
You can
thank
stop recording since you adjourned.
Oh.